Right, so okay, let's get down to the topic at hand, FOMO, right? Secrets to avoiding FOMO in your property decisions. So why do you feel the feeling of FOMO, right? Why FOMO? Why do FOMO come about? So I have a couple of pointers. Number one, it's mainstream media, how the news is crafted. I believe that really causes a lot of FOMO in the market. And another reason why FOMO comes about is a lack of fundamental understanding in the market, which leads you to think, if I don't buy now, is it if I wait, then I cannot buy anything anymore? And then after you buy, there's a lot of uncertainty because, did I buy it too expensive, or is the market too expensive? Is it a bubble? Different sort of questions. So our objective today is not so much to answer whether or not you should buy or not, but how to make an informed decision as opposed to a decision solely because everyone else is buying, and buying with great uncertainty. Okay, so as we go on, right, we'll go on to show that it doesn't mean that buying when the market is hot, right, necessarily mean you will lose money. Later on, I will show you some examples. What's more important is how do you plan out your property purchase? How do you get grounded in solid fundamentals in the market so that you know how to analyze and predict where the market is going. Okay? Right, so the news, all right. So I mean, with the advent of social media, so even the mainstream media nowadays, the way they craft their headlines, because the bulk of us now consume all like Straits Times, Business Times online and via social media. They also have to make their headlines very, very catchy so that you will stop and you will click and go and read it. So their objective is for you to stop and read, right? And then the next thing that I feel why we should always take mainstream media with a pinch of salt is that the data and the facts that they present usually are very short term. Right? Later I'm going to share with you one of the examples, right? And they are very general. So they go on like district basis, like OCR, CCR, RCR basis, that it's not quite applicable to your property plan. So if it's not so applicable to your property plan, then how much of all this data should you be really buying into in making your property decision? Okay, let's take a look at some of those examples. So this is the headline for when the REIT was launched, right? So you see they put in sales over 90% of 300 units offered over launch weekend. So what's your immediate reaction? Wow, sell so well, right? Must be good. Let me go and take a look. Then once you walk into the show flat, everything is so nice, so wow, and then you may just be sucked in and make that FOMO decision. You get what I mean? But the fact is that there is actually 429 units in the reef, and so if you work out the percentage, the actual fact and the actual correct headline to put is 65%. So but they want to make it look wow, and they want people to actually stop and look at it, so they artificially put it to 90%. But in actual fact, it's 65%, and they do this all the time for launches, just to make the percentage look a lot bigger. And then when we have launches like Bartley View, that's 25%, so then they don't even report it. So yeah, okay. Next. Pasir Ris 8, I think this one, especially for those of you who follow the channel, you guys also follow the news and you are in the know. But when Pasir Ris 8 launched, all the outlets were putting the 2000 PSF in the headline. But in actual fact, okay, so what's your immediate reaction? Is going to be, wow, Pasir Ris 2000 PSF, better buy now. If Pasir Ris is already at 2000, I better hurry up, go and buy. If not, the future prices is going to be crazy. Then on the other front, on the flip side, the pessimists will see, oh my goodness, Pasir Ris at 2,000 per square feet, right? Cooling measures is coming, I better wait. Yeah? But the actual fact is that there were only 2 units that were sold above 2,000 PSF at Pasir Ris 8. And for the rest of them, they actually worked out to an average of 1,600 PSF. Okay, so always take the headlines, especially when it has to deal with launches, with a pinch of salt. Yeah, and also because another cautionary tale, and also another piece of advice, since we are on this topic. Pasir Ris 8 went through, I believe it was six price increments over a single day. Yeah, so. And then they made people, I wasn't there myself, but I've heard news that, people had to be in the queue for like 6 to 7 hours. And when they finally got to the end of the queue, prices have been raised 6 times. But, natural human behavior, the whole theory of escalating commitment. Then when you reach the front of the queue, you sort of like, you are forced to make a decision. And that is where a lot of people make mistakes. A lot of people, which was why actually I was quite when the pandemic hit, and then they had to do launches in the controlled environment without all this queuing and things like that. It allowed people to really make a more informed decision without all this extra artificial pressures being put in lah. But it is what it is. My advice is that you have a really, really solid game plan going into a launch if your intention is to go for a launch. For example, right, what is your PSF threshold that you are willing to go for, right? Out of which you're going to walk away. What are the alternatives for you to explore if that particular project is then priced out of your PSF expectation, right? And I would recommend being really, really strict about it, because the further along you're going to get into the queue, the higher your target is going to be, together with all that escalating commitment and things like that, right? So I really, really hope that none of you who is listening in to us make a similar mistake like that. Right? And also because the developers have been suffering for many, many years with all the way from the previous As a matter of fact, the developers have been suffering ever since the cooling measures have come in. Today is perhaps their best time to really squeeze out the maximum profit that they can lah. So as consumers, really, please do go into launches with a very, very clear game plan. Yeah, and it's also during these launches that whole FOMO mentality is really pushed up. Okay, so next is this headline, right? New private home sales falls nearly 24% after the July 6 months high. Right, so what's your immediate reaction after you see a headline like that? Oh my God, right? The market is slowing down. Are prices going to drop? Should I wait? So, but the matter of fact is that new private home sales are severely skewed during months of new developments being launched. So, if that particular month has no new development launch, or I think in July, Bartley View haven't launched yet. But it was launched in August. Yes, correct. So, Bartley View only 115 units, then they end up only sell like 25% of it. So obviously the new home sales is going to drop. Versus if, next month we're going to get Canning Hill Pierce launch, and that's 700 developments. So if Canning Hill Pierce sells 50% of it, you're going to see a significant rise in the new home sales volumes. So, new development launch equals increase in new private home sales. But the question to ask ourselves is that, does this have any bearings on the fundamentals of the market? Pricing, and does this have any bearing on your property plan? No, okay, because the fact is that properties, the minimum you have to hold in this market is for 3 years. And, why Does private new home sales from month to month affect you? Why should it affect you? It shouldn't even affect you. Okay, but it makes for good headlines, right? 25% drop, things like that. It makes for an attractive headline, but does it affect you? No, it doesn't. So don't look at short-term statistics in the property market, right? And something that I also noticed that the news articles tend not to do is give you a very long perspective. So yes, they say 24% drop from July, then they just show you the data for June and July, but they don't show you like a 10-year data, things like that, right? Which is what I'm going to talk about in the next article. So in the next article, right, the government hikes private housing supply for confirmed sites by 25% for the second half of 2021, right? I know that this particular article raised quite a bit of concerns because I have had clients texting me after reading this article asking me if this is going to result in an oversupply in the market. Yeah, so that's people's immediate reaction, and this is I know this because I have clients that actually texted me. But what's the fact behind the story? Okay, what the mainstream media never show. Okay, the fact is that the market today is still in a historic undersupply. So why? So if we look over here, the first chart, the first chart is the trend of the government land sales supply under the confirmed list all the way to 2009. So you very, very seldom see charts like that, especially in BT and ST. You see it in HPROP, right? But not very seldom in BT and ST. So you notice how the trends usually, we love to look at the supply. We love to look at We love to look at the supply charts, right? Because they are very, very hard to adjust. Okay, and they once set in stone, it takes a while for them to recover. So you notice how it goes up and comes down, it goes up and come down. And so today, the amount of the amount of units being derived, right, being provided for under the confirmed list is very, very low. Okay, of course, it's not as low as the first half of 2016, but what I'm looking at is the amount of time that it has been at this level. So notice how in 2015 and 2016 it was at this level for just a short period of time, but we have been seeing really, really low numbers of government land sales all the way from 2019, as a matter of fact. Okay, and this has been something that we've been talking about again and again during our Facebook lives. Yeah, that I see very, very clearly how the slowdown in government land sales and also the delay due to whatever is happening in the market right now is going to cause a significant undersupply moving forward. I can't say the word per se, it's the C word that we all know, because YouTube will block my video and block my advert if I mention that word. So I mean, we all know what is happening in the market right now, okay? So then the second chart is talking about en bloc. Okay, so you also can see en bloc always goes through a cycle of up and down and up and down. And so we haven't really seen a lot of en bloc, right? Together with the fact that there's been really, really low numbers of government land sales ever since 2019, very, very low number of en bloc ever since 2019 as well. So I mean, this is basically the two avenues that land can be supplied into the market, and both of them show very clearly that in the last 2 years there haven't been a high number of land being sold. So Is a 25% increase from one half of the year to another half of the year significant, especially on a low basis, as we can see over here? No, right? That 25% increase is still going to result in very, very clear undersupply 2024, 2025, I believe up to 2026. Okay, so how this whole thing is going to play out for the market, I have something for you guys later on, right? So stick with me.
Hello, sorry to interrupt. We'd like to take the opportunity to thank you for watching the video and also to share why we do what we do. Is to empower consumers with hard facts and figures, quality research and real-life examples to allow them to make the most informed property decisions. So if you found our videos useful, the only thing we ask for is for you to smash that like and subscribe button so that the YouTube algorithm can push out our videos to more consumers. Thank you, and back to the video.
So what should you then focus on, right? So what I've been saying is, take the news with a pinch of salt. So what should you then focus on, right? Focus on the fundamentals of the market. Focus on spending your time understanding the fundamentals of the market, okay? And then also, right, what are the factors in the market that's not going to change in the short term? Okay, not going to change in the short term. I'm going to share with you guys on that later on. Okay, then focus on your exit and focus on your property plan, because these two things you can control. Okay, as a matter of fact, point 1, point 3, and point 4 you can control. Right, point 2 you cannot really control, but since it's not going to change, all these 4 points, if you get it right, won't really be affected by much. Yeah. And then you won't have to be fearful about all these FOMO things. Or as a matter of fact, if anything is going to happen to the market in the short term. So this is perhaps going to be one of the most powerful and important charts in this whole life. Okay, so quite complicated, but follow me and you're going to see how I see the market today. So the delays that it has been caused by the C word, which I cannot say because YouTube don't allow me to say. Okay, the C word has caused delays in constructions in both the BTO or the government sector and as well as the private sector. I'm going to start off first under the government sector. Okay, so the delays, the BTOs are experiencing construction delays. Okay, and on top of that, right, so that's driving a lot of demand into the resale market. Okay, and the resale market, then all that demand in the resale market is absorbing up the bumper crop of BTO MOP that's going to be up in the market in 2020 and 2021. So as a matter of fact, right, I think this whole situation has actually helped HDB quite a bit, because we were supposed to get 50,000 MOP units in the market 2020 and 2021. Historical average per year from 2010 to 2018 is just 9,000 units per year. Working out into 2 years, 18,000 or 20,000. It's double of that for 2020 and 2021. Had all this not happened, I firmly believe HDB prices would have taken a nosedive because of the sheer amount of supply coming up into the market. But somehow or other, with all this that's happening, that flow of demand out from BTO into the resale market has helped absorb up all this supply and propped up HDB prices. So with these elevated HDB prices in the resale market, so now we have a lot of upgraders in the market, and all these upgraders are then moving into the private market, right? So let's take a look at what all this has cost and resulted in the private market. Okay, so in the private market, construction costs have come up. Yeah, so that has resulted in developers being wary of bidding up too much land, okay, because they are being subjected to all that cooling measures. Okay, so just to recap, the cooling measures that the developers have to deal with is the cooling measures that the developers have to deal with today is 5% non-remissible ABSD. So for the rest of us, right, if we want to buy a second property, it's 12% ABSD. But for a developer buying a piece of land, they have to pay 5% ABSD non-remissible, and if they cannot sell the land after 5 years, they have to pay 25% ABSD. All in all, 30% ABSD. And this has not changed if they buy a new plot of land today, even with what is in the market. Of course, the developers that have bought and are currently building projects, the government have given them sort of an extension in the ABSD because of the delay. But if they buy today, the government is assuming they have already factored all of this in as part of their bid. Okay? So the government is also wary of releasing too much land because they trust that the cooling measures are doing their job, which they are, as you can see from the bids at Jalan Anak Bukit. Okay? And they also trust that the construction costs, the high construction cost is going to hold back the developers. So all of this is going to lead to a drop in new launch supply. So for those of you who follow us today, the developer outstanding inventory is dipping below 19,000, the trigger point for the previous surge in en bloc rush in 2016-2017. But we still don't see them really coming out into the en bloc market yet. So that goes to show the cooling measures really are doing their job, and the developers are taking all these things quite seriously. Okay? So the drop in new launch supply would then naturally cause the demand from the upgrader market to flow into the resale market because they've sold their HDB and they need the house to stay. But there's not that many developer inventory left for them to buy, so they have to buy the resale market. And that's going to cause the resale prices to come up. And of course, one of the big complaints that people had with regards to the market previously was the huge gap between the new launch prices and the resale prices. And the question then was, is this gap sustainable? So look at it this way. This whole situation have now caused this cycle, I named it the self-balancing mechanism, to force the demand into the resale market and causing the resale prices then to catch up with the new launch prices naturally. Okay? So when the delay ends, when all this ends, the developers will then return to the market and then start to drive up new launch prices again, and then we start the whole cycle again. But what's happening now is that, I mean, in a weird sort of way, what's happened to the market is just balancing it out and causing and resulting in it achieving a new equilibrium. Equilibrium, if you know what I mean, right? Self-balancing, causing new equilibrium. All in all, a good thing for the market. Yeah. So for those of, I know this is a bit chim, so for those of you who don't understand, you can always drop me a text, and then I can send this to you, and then you can slowly absorb it and wrap your head around it. It sort of just came to me like a couple of weeks back, and then so I thought I can just put it into a table. I know it's not perfect, so I'm going to just continue working on it and probably put it into the webinar or the book later on. So the next thing, right, what is not going to change in the short time? So we like to use the supply chart because the supply chart can't really change, right? Next year, this year, next year. Okay, but what else is not going to change? The number of HDBs hitting their MOP is not going to change. Okay, upgraders wanting to upgrade when their BTOs hit MOP is not going to change. And that number is going, like I mentioned earlier, is going to be 50,000 in 2021 and 2022. Okay, with the average of like I mentioned, 2010 to 2018 only at 9,000 per year. So it's a significant increase. And so all these upgraders are going to come on into the market. And this is tying in with the point below of an increased affluence and an increase in disposable household income, right? As seen in the population census, which we went through in the last 1 or 2 Facebook Live sessions. The average household income, or another way to phrase it, the group that the highest percentage of, how do I say it? Because it's not exactly median. The group that takes up the highest proportion of the population census is making 20K per month average household income. Yeah? So it goes to show that there's increased affluence in the Singapore household and an increase in disposable household income. Also because people 2 years cannot go for holiday already. They got suddenly a lot more savings. Yeah. So what else is not going to change? The developer unsold inventory is coming down, and if they don't come back into the en bloc market, which we are seeing a great resistance so far, they can't increase their inventory by much, okay? And also because the government isn't really releasing that much GLS land. So the number of units that's going to TOP between 2024 and 2025 is also going to be low, because whatever land is being bought today, I don't think any developers is willing to commit to complete between 2024 and 2025. Right? I think a safer bet, most of them are predicting end 2025 to 2026. So during this 2024-2025 period, because of the low number of land sales between 2019 all the way to today, right? It's gonna squeeze the market. It's gonna cause a significantly lower TOP supply then. Hence, remember my chart, forcing demand into the resale market. So next up, okay, commercial break. So if you guys like what we share, please do us a favor and like and subscribe to our various channels, so that it will help us with the YouTube algorithm and help us push our content out to more people. And also, if you feel our content has been useful, and we know quite a lot of you have been pushing it out to your friends and family, and we really do appreciate that. So please do continue to do that, so that we can help empower more and more consumers, allowing them to make the most informed decisions for their properties, for their property purchase, and for their property plan. Okay? So I'm on to my last point. Okay, so remember when I said earlier that it doesn't mean if you buy during when the market is hot, they will necessarily lose money. So case in point is Twinview. So for those of you who don't know where Twinview is, it's at West Coast Vale. It's 1.5 km to Clementi MRT station. So it's basically at the top of Pandan Reservoir. It's a bit of a distance to civilization. It's not what most of us will consider a real fantastic location. Okay, but let's take a look at the performance of Twinview. Okay, so why did I use Twinview as an example? Twinview is an example of a launch that happened when the market was really hot, and how we would really classify all these people in the category of taking action due to FOMO. I mean, if you were there, you would probably have thought you fell victim to the whole FOMO phenomenon. So it was 85% sold, and remember the date. This was one of the launches that probably the authorities saw and raised a real red flag. Hence, the cooling measures came 2 months later, in July 5th. So based on all the things that we know, market was hot, FOMO, and then right after this, cooling measures came. So in our traditional way of thinking, we would have thought that these folks are in for real hurt lah. But the results have been really, really surprising. As a matter of fact, I myself got a shock. For those of you who follow us, you know that we bought and sold Lake Grand, that is in beside Lakeside MRT. So this one is not even near any MRT, but they did a lot better than Lake Grand. Let's take a look, okay? This is the profit that they made, right? We have from 56,000 all the way to 420,000. That's not the most impressive part, okay? I mean, they bought in May 18, right before the cooling measure, and they sold it today. So it's give or take a slightly over 3-year holding period. So they have really, really good annualized percentage gains. And all these gains is non-leveraged. So if you really look at it, you just times 4, or maybe you just times 3 to offset all the necessary costs. It's really, really good. Really, really good annualized gains. Okay, something that you would not have expected for somebody that took action when the market was really hot and took action right before cooling measures. So what can we derive from a case study like TwinView? Well, actually, there's a lot more points that we can talk about. You guys know I'm a big fan of large units in the OCR. I believe they will outperform in the next couple of years, and TwinView, this particular example, is an excellent example to back up that prediction. So look at the sizes of the units that were sold in the resale market, right? Those that really make the killing over here, the larger units. Okay, the larger units. And look at the PSFs that they were being sold at 1,005 to 1,006 in a location like West Coast Vale. So we do have launches today that are actually lesser in terms of PSF and in a better location than this. So those really, really have excellent value proposition, if I must say. Okay, so there's many things that I learned from this little TwinView example. So it's not so much about the entry that matters. You can enter at what some people say is the worst possible time. But what's important is with correct fundamental understanding of the market, you know when to exit. Because sometimes the entry you can't quite control, right? The buyers at TwinView, they couldn't control that the cooling measures was going to come 2 months down the road. But what they could control was when they sell the property. So they sold it during a time of low TOP supply. So today in this market, for those of you who follow, the TOP supply is very, very low. Okay, and it's going to be, while it's expected to come up in 2022, 2023, 2024, when our friends at Park Esta, Riverfront, TOP. But all in all, I feel the TOP, because of what's happened in the market, is all being spread out, and it's going to drop significantly in the 2025, 2026 period. Okay, so that's something that you can control. Yeah. So, and next, right, will be Park Rivera. Okay, so Park Rivera is TwinView's neighbor, so they are just side by side. Okay, and Park Rivera, most of them bought during a period of time that I would say is not as hyped up and not as hot a period as TwinView. You can look at it, if you look at the chart, right, in the pricing chart, TwinView was launched almost at the peak of the price chart. Right after that, cooling measure came, and then there was a drop. Okay, so for those of you who a lot of you who follow me are also very obsessed with charts. So for those of you who are obsessed with charts, buying right at the tip of the property price index before the dip would have spelled doom and gloom for a lot of people. But the matter of fact is that Park Rivera, the people that bought below, at a price point that was below TwinView, right, actually made less money. than the folks at Twinview. We can take a look at this. Their annualized, I mean, while it's still very, very decent, right, with some like averaging out, I believe, just looking a quick look at here to about 3 to 4% annualized. It's not as good as Twinview, which we saw averaging out, I believe, is to 5 to 6% annualized gains. So what does that tell us? It's not the entry that matters, because a lot of people are overly focused about the entry. So I mean, the old saying goes, it's time in the market versus trying to time the market. And I wanted to bring out this example to really just bring that point across again, right? And also add on a little bit more insights to it other than just that old idiom, right? We look at things that we can control, and then we back our decisions up with solid fundamental understanding about the market. And since we cannot control the entry, we control the exit. Okay? And so what are some of the important questions to ask yourself? Yeah? Number one, remember, since we cannot control the entry, we can control the exit, but in order to be able to control the exit, you have to have sufficient holding power. And so a good question to ask yourself is, do I have the holding power? Right? Second question, do I know the factors influencing the market today? So you will want to ask yourself the question, is this a bubble? And do you have the answers to those questions? Okay? Is there an oversupply? What are the underlying fundamentals behind the market today, right? Points like the cooling measures, do you understand TDSR, MSR, and how that has affected the market, how that has changed the market, LTV, what are the LTVs pre-2013 and LTVs post-2013, right? Think questions like that, right? Important fundamentals that will give you the confidence with your purchase. All right, that will give you confidence to know that you are not buying simply because of FOMO. Okay, and the last question, am I comfortable if some extraordinary circumstance impact the market tomorrow? So I always tell my clients, if let's say we take action today and something drastic happens tomorrow, for example, right, the Evergrande contingent spreads to Singapore, another round of cooling measures, so will you panic? Okay, if you feel you would, that just means you don't have sufficient understanding about the market. And number two, you have not planned your property purchase well enough, hence resulting in so much uncertainty.